district as well online. And I just want to say thank you all again for the opportunity to come and speak. Before I get started, we're family. We're family. I love y'all. You know, we're just like family. And what I'm going to cover and the way I'm going to cover it is how I normally am in the office setting. I'm now no longer in a branch office, but I work in internal operations. I work as a
Wow.
loan officer, and I deal with those complaints members may have because of loans and how we maybe didn't come up to the occasion as far as with satisfaction, customer satisfaction. So I look at those complaints as well as a couple other things. And, we're going to have that conversation. And I see some, like I said, that I've helped in the past and they already know how I am. And let's just get to it. First thing first, Superintendent Whitley doesn't mind. I'm going to borrow this, but we are better together. That's one of our slogans at the church. We are better together. And that's going to be in regards to even with the finances. What my goal is to kind of give you those nuggets, those steps to how to proceed so that you can have that financial success. As Evangelist said earlier, we want to make sure God wants us to be well-rounded, all the way spiritual. But as far as since we're naturally here in the flesh, we want to make sure that we're good physically as well as even financially. So a couple of things I'm gonna cover tonight real quickly would be basic finances, budgeting. I'm going to interject church into that as well as I'm going to briefly touch on credit, and I'm going to talk about the loan process. And the loan process, I'm going to cover two areas: when you get approved and when you get denied. Okay. So we're going to start off with the basic finances, and I hope you have your pens and paper ready. Because like I said, it's a lot of things, information I would want you to have. And as it says, do unto others as you have them do unto you. I would want somebody to give me this information. So first things first, understanding the differences in savings, checking, and other accounts. So the things I'm going to talk about, it's going to be general. So, because I don't know for sure if everybody on this call or this empowerment session is a member of State Employees Credit Union. So this is going to be general banking information. So it's for credit union members as well as general bank members. It's general banking customers. So with the savings and checking account, that's your basics. Savings, that's where you save your funds. Checking account is where, you do your purchases as well as pay bills out of the account. Couple of things with additional savings accounts, like for example, a money market. Some banks have a version of a money market. Typically with the money market, you have a higher interest return, but you have a higher deposit amount. So if you want, let's say for example, 1% or 1.5% of interest, you're going to have to put in $250, or you're going to have to, for example, so that you can earn that 1.5 interest. You can't do just the bare minimum of like $25 or anything like that in order to have that deposit. So with that being said, a money market it's an investment. I would look at it closely as an investment account that would be helpful with saving, and especially if you're not wanting to deal with stock markets or anything of that nature. IRAs, some are in the workforce, eventually may get to retire. Looking at retirement years, you want to make sure, in addition to that, you want to make sure you have your estate planning. Estate planning is going to be key as well. We got to have those wheels together, because I know sometimes in my family, we sometimes will say, we call it outlaw in-laws. When you don't have a will in place, there are those instances in which somebody's going to get upset. Somebody may not get what they want, and that can be an ugly legal situation that you don't want to have happen. So with that, you want to make sure that you have. Okay, you just want to make sure that you have that in order. Okay. The types of there's additional special savings accounts, holiday cash accounts. Some of you may have children, grandkids you want to save Christmas for. You can start in January. You can start actually anytime you want to start saving for Christmas, so that you won't have to scrounge and then go to the bank towards the end of the year to get a loan to pay for Christmas. That doesn't sound right. That's not, we don't see the Lord saying blessing in that to give you a loan to pay for holiday expenses, or even better yet, going on vacations. Okay. Special spending accounts. I'm gonna use me for example. So when I have my deposit coming to my account for my paycheck, first things first, tithes and offering. I'm gonna get that off the top, send that where it goes to my church. So that'll be out of my hands so I can continue to be blessed. Because as the Bible does say, you will be cursed with a curse when you don't pay those tithes and offering. I have seen in office settings with members where we get into that conversation and sometimes it's kind of crickets. I ask, do you do charitable contributions? They said, well, yeah. What about, like as far as with church, do you give any money to the church? Well, I do kind of get slack on my tithes, but I got that cell phone bill I got to pay for, or my child want them Jordans, and sometimes we've got to get those priorities kind of back into that in the right realm. Okay. So what I personally do, I have a CashPoint Global account. The CashPoint Global account, and other banks may have a specialized account just strictly for spending. What it does is it's going to kind of help you control that money. So if you've got $100 budgeted aside for your spending, once you hit that $0 amount, that's it. You can't add on to it. You can't go into the negative. You don't want it to overdraft. So what I do as well is I rename some of my accounts online. So like one of my accounts, I have bills account. That's where my bills are going to come out of. I also throw extra $2-3 into the account, or maybe up to $10 in the account, so that no overdrafts happen, no hot potato happens. Because when sometimes there are those companies that when you make a draft and organize a draft out the account, they'll take it out, but then for some reason they may throw it back in there. Then they'll take it out again. So if they throw it back in there and you're seeing that extra money in your account, you're gonna be like, well, Lord bless me, I got some money left over. But then you swipe your card, and then the next day is, it's a big mess. So you don't want that to happen. So I would just recommend, having that specialized account for spending only, as well as having your account for your bills and your savings account. So that's another option there. Adding to that, so when it comes to, and I'm talking a lot of tech stuff, high tech when it comes to banking. So we have alerts. For example, with the credit union, we have text alerts. Some of your financial institutions do have specialized programs that you can use your smartphone. We can, as much as we can check Instagram, Facebook, things like that, we should be able to check our alerts as far as with accounts. When things are coming out the account, when things are pending, you should get an alert on your phone. I know one gentleman I helped one time, he wanted every time his card swiped to his phone, he wanted his phone to buzz. And that's every transaction going in, coming out, whatever it was, he wanted it to come out of that account. And he wanted a notification of it on his phone. So next thing I do want to talk about is, for example, my pastor, Superintendent Whitley, he currently serves as an advisory board member for State Employees Credit Union in Troy, North Carolina. And with that, the Troy, North Carolina, what he does is he helps volunteer understanding the loan products that's going on with the credit union, and there's meetings he'll attend to kind of help the overall betterment of the credit union. What that does is whenever you try to volunteer or understand how the bank works, as far as not just so much it gives you loans and it saves your money, but if you learn how the board of directors are, who are the board of directors? Who are your branch managers? Who are your district managers? What that does is it kind of sets the table for you. So in the event that there's a accident that may happen or a dispute that may happen, you'll at least know the proper channels to go to, instead of just saying, I want to speak to the manager. And that's about far as you'll get. Okay. So budgeting, as the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain. We need to get it down on paper. That's going to be very key. You want to make sure you have it down on paper so that you can see and check off as you go through the budget. You want to make sure that everything that you have lined up is in place. So tithes and offering going out, car payment, credit card payment, utility bills, all that's going out the account. All right. So, and as I said before, you start off with the top, tithes and offering. Get that off the top, get that taken care of. And then to kind of add to it, when it comes to church anniversaries, you know, we're big with church anniversaries. We want to give our pastors something nice, or mothers, you want to give them something nice. If your church tells you ahead of time how much money you need to have before a particular set of time, try to do a funds transfer in your account. And like, for example, I'm with the alumni board down at UNCP, and one year they required us to give $100 anytime throughout the year. So some of them gave 100 right on the spot. Some people were kind of talking slow, and they simply said, if you're wanting to budget out, if you can do $8 a month for 1 year, that's $96. Then that last month you add $4 more to it, that's your $100 for the year. So it's all about, it can be done. You just got to put it on paper and just kind of move the pieces about so that you can execute in that manner, but you got to stick to it. So you may have the paper here and the paper ready, but if you kind of wait, well, they got that sale at the store at the mall, or well, they got that sale at so and so, and I can't pass it up. You got sometimes you got to pop that hand. You got to tell yourself, no, not right now. Let me hold off. Wait until another time when I can comfortably make that purchase, and not so much rely on a debt as far as a personal loan or a credit card to make that purchase. Okay. All right. So one thing that I do appreciate my pastor for saying, you know, he'll say it sometimes to us when it comes to church and giving. You know, as I said before, you want to make sure you budget out your money. Now, he'll tell us this, you know, if you don't feel good about giving it, or if you've got a little bit of an attitude about giving that money, he'd rather for you to keep it, because you don't want to go and put something on the table and you got such a bad feeling about it that it just doesn't work right. So if you needed that extra $20 and they asking for it, now if the Lord tell you to put it on there, put it on there. You know, that's between you and the Lord. If you are like, well, I don't know, that's between you and the Lord on that. But if you put it up there and kind of like, well, I wanted to keep that, you might as well go ahead and go back to the table, grab it, and sit back down. You know, so like I said, this is something that it's going to be there's a blessing built in with it. So, you know, just knowing that if you're willing to give, if you're willing to put it on the table, no questions asked. So there's times where I'll give an offering and I don't want my name called. I necessarily hardly even don't want an envelope. Like if it's a certain if it's a $20, $10, I'll put it on the table. And, you know, I don't need so-and-so gave, not necessarily for me. I'm not trying to do that. I just want to do whatever it takes to advance the kingdom. All right. So next thing I'm talking about is credit. Credit. So as I've gone to social services in Stanley County. I've came down to Maxton and taught this group and done a bunch of schools. And when I talk about credit, I simply say this: think of credit like school. You know, when you turn your work in on time at school, you can get a good grade. When you start missing work, when you start turning in late, pieces of it is missing, your score is going to drop, your grade is going to drop. Same thing with credit. If you've got a consistent on-time payment history, that's going to be key. That's 35% of what makes up your credit score. And let me see right quick. Okay, so if everybody could see this, and I'll talk about it as for the ones who dialed in, but that's the pie chart that calculates your credit score. So that's the percentage. As you can see, 35% of it is payment history. 30% is the amounts owed. So that's all your credit card, mortgage, car amounts, things like that. The next one is any new credit that you've recently applied for, as well as the blue is the length of credit history, how long you've had credit history, and the purple is the types of used credit. So a lot of creditors or a lot of institutions like for you to have a diversified portfolio when it comes to credit. So in other words, have a credit card, have a car loan, have a mortgage. Student loans actually show that's one of the first things that somebody 18 fresh out going to college, student loans will actually generate you a credit score. Once you start attending school, it does show up under your social security number. Okay. All right. So, okay. And I just showed the breakdown of it. So a lot of people sometimes will check their credit score using Credit Karma. I hear Credit Karma, Credit Karma, Credit Karma. And sometimes the Credit Karma, I use it personally, but I don't fully bank on it. You know, Credit Karma does report the Equifax and TransUnion. And right quick, the three credit bureaus that United States of America uses when it comes to loans is Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Okay, those are the three credit bureaus that a lot of lenders in the United States use to determine if they can give you a loan or not, or check your credit worthiness. So Credit Karma only reports your Equifax and your TransUnion score. Okay. Now, one website that I know state employees promote, I use it personally and I promote it too, is www.annualcreditreport.com. So I'm gonna say that again. It's www.annualcreditreport.com. And when you go on that website, it's going to give you the information from all three credit bureaus, because by federal law, it is required for those credit bureaus to give you one free report once a year. Now, you can go on there, you can get your report. It's going to go in detail. Now, if you're looking for the score, if you're looking for that 3-digit number, it'll direct you to their websites like Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, but chances are you're going to get charged a fee. They're going to want to charge you a fee to get that score. So that's where I said again, I look at Credit Karma as a glance. Some institutions, actually financial institutions, if you have a loan through them, they'll provide you your FICO score. So that's a general credit score as well too. I know state employees does provide a FICO score with the loan products. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now I've heard I call it the craze of credit repair companies. Credit repair companies, it's kind of a with them. There may be some that are using them, and some that's kind of like But with credit repair companies, I look at it as, if I'm paying you an X dollar amount per month to make my credit better, to increase my score, why can't I take that same money that I'm paying you per month and apply it to that bill that I owe? You know, apply it to that charge off that I owe, apply it to that medical bill that I owe. If you take those same funds that you pay through that company, and they're like, oh, you're going to get your score 6 months, no tops. Your score going to shoot up 200 points. You're going to get whatever you want. The way I look at it, it becomes another bill at the end of the day. On top of what you currently own your credit report, that credit repair ends up becoming another bill. So if you take those funds, better yet, if you get on the phone, call those creditors, hey, whoever it is, Ally Financial, I want to talk to you. I apologize with the bad account that I have. And, you know, it was XYZ reason years ago. I want to settle with you. So usually at that point, most creditors will talk negotiations with you. You have to negotiate with your creditor rather than leaving it on there. And I know it's truth to it, but I'm not waiting 7 years for something to fall off my credit report. I mean, that's 7 years. Some people will say, I'll wait 7 years, it's gonna fall off. Personally, I'm not gonna wait that long. So getting those funds together and applying it to that debt and trying to get it corrected, that's the best piece there. So that's one thing that I do recommend, that if you are considering a credit repair company to get things fixed, you might want to give those companies a call. And if it's kind of hard to look up those companies once you get your credit report, it's just a matter of Googling, or, you know, just try to find a way of sometimes if you Google the name of it, they'll usually populate a phone number. You know, there's ways of finding out who are those particular creditors. Okay. So, and one thing about credit reports, the reporting period it's every January, April, July, and October. Okay. Once again, it's January, April, July, and October. Those are the 4 quarters within the year that your credit score is updated. Okay. So some, like I said, some of the websites, some of the banks that offer your credit score, they do it's every 3 months. So January, April, July, and October. You'll get your credit score, and that's, you can go off that and you can kind of gauge how you're doing, how your performance is going. Okay. So now, like I said, we're all family. Now we're going to be talking about the loan process. Yes, we're going to talk about when you walk in the office or apply online or call in. We're going to be talking about that loan process. So before you decide you're going to dial, type, or walk in, before you attempt to apply, do the homework. If you don't need it, don't do it. Just have some extra cash in your pocket. If you don't need it, don't do it. Okay. Just look at the budget. If there is need, if you really need it, then apply. But if you don't, we'll try to find another way of obtaining what you need. Okay. Basically look for alternatives and look at your budgeting adjustments. All right. Key thing when it comes to applying for mortgages and car loans, especially I'm putting emphasis on the mortgages. Make sure you have funds in your account. I can't tell you how many times we've had members come in with the bare minimum, $25 in the savings account, but they want us to give them an $80,000 mortgage. Savings is going to be very important. Savings and cleaning up the credit report. That's going to be very important, having the credit report at a certain status. Okay. So basically the idea with the mortgages is if you can save, I say guesstimate $800 a month in your savings account over a period of time, let's say 6 months, for example, what happens is it's going to give the loan officer the picture of, okay, they can make an $800 mortgage payment and still do everything else they're doing. And, and it'd be fine. And we don't have to worry about no foreclosure or possible foreclosure in the near future or, years on. Because we understand that life happens. We understand that there are going to be those times where you're going to have to need that life support or that buoy to come out and save you. But, but if it's because of, oh, we went down to the beach for the weekend and I slightly overspent my money, that doesn't look too well trying to get an extension because of you got a little happy with the spending. So with the mortgages, like I said before, if you can save a particular X dollar amount, so that's you setting up a funds transfer out of whatever income you have, because for one, institutions, we cannot discriminate if you get solely Social Security, if you get solely child support, if you get a pension, if you working full time, as long as there's a source of income that's continuous and coming in, we cannot discriminate against you. So if you're getting just that Social Security check, you are basically in a way kind of qualified for a mortgage as well as somebody who's working a full-time job with a 401k. So that's another thing there to kind of keep in mind. And then if you have, let's say if you come in and apply for a loan and you have additional income, you don't have to disclose that information if you don't want to. Let's see. Financial institutions are here to help you. And we just, like I said before, make sure you do your financial homework before you apply for the loan. So let me get into the part now of, because look, it's about 7:45. Let me get into the part where when you get approved and when you get denied. Okay. When you get approved, yes, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Yeah. Okay. We get that out the way. Read the paperwork that comes with that loan packet. You don't know how many times state employees recently got folders. I have called myself plenty of times putting a packet in a folder and handing it to the member like I'm their kindergarten teacher. The main objective is I want to make sure that the member understands what their obligation is. So a year later down the road, if we're missing a payment and we're calling you, you know, y'all never told me that. That wasn't the date. If you look at your paperwork, it's going to explain to you your terms and conditions, and it's going to explain, or better yet, if for some unforeseen reason we come and repo that car, you know, y'all can't take my car. Read the fine print on the contract. It does explain that we do have the option to come and repossess our collateral if deemed necessary. Okay. All right. So also on the loan approval, ask any questions. The loan officer is there to help you. Ask them any questions, even if they don't look like they don't want to be there. Ask them questions, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you understand your loan terms and conditions and understand what you're signing up for. So ask any and all questions, even if you got to come in a couple days after and ask questions. Ask them. Okay. Also, this is kind of a courtesy thing. If you want to give the person a hug, you can. With COVID-19, you know, we kind of want to, you know, social distancing piece. But if you want to thank the person, you can. You know, it's just want to. That's an option there if you want to do that. Okay. As before, like I said, make sure you review the documents. Make sure you understand. Keep the documents in a safe place. Okay. So if you need to refer to them anytime in the future, just do that. All right. So now we're going to talk about in the event that you're denied for a loan. Okay. First thing I'm going to say is it's okay to be disappointed. All right. But don't get stuck there. Do not get stuck there, because a lot of times a member will come in, maybe not have all the ducks in a row. They'll get disappointed. And when they get declined and they end up leaving, you know, we don't want to have that to happen. Okay. All right. So, in other words, don't shut out the employee when he or she says denied or your loan's been declined. Do not shut them out. Do not get to talking about their family. You know, you want to make sure that we keep it Christianly. We want to make sure we keep it orderly. And when we talk we want to make sure we have the peace of God throughout the day and even in that process. So, Lord knows you're going to get a little disappointed, but you just keep your focus on him, keep your eye on him. You do a quick prayer, Lord, I believe I'm going to get it next time. And you just walk in faith and you do the work. You write the vision and you figure out what's next. So that leads up to ask the questions of what's next. You know, don't just, if the loan officer says, come back in 6 months, we'll try again, grill them. Ask the questions. What was wrong with my credit report? What's on my credit report that you know, got me to decline, or what does my income numbers have to be? Okay. You need to know why they said no. You need to know what you can do to say yes. So at the end of the day, even me, when I was working in the office setting, was to, if you say yes, if you get approved, good, we're going to talk, we're going to give you paperwork, you're going to be on your way. If you get declined, we're going to have that little sad moment, but then we're going to pick ourselves right back up. We're going to get the pieces together, and I'm going to give you the pieces. It's up to you if you're going to connect the dots, you know. So that's going to be the main thing with that. And in the event that you have a member, or not a member, but if you have a person that works at the bank or credit union that has a nasty attitude and you're not approving of it, like they say, stay saved. You got to stay saved now. But we do have Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Better Business Bureau, the National Credit Union Administration, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So those are the regulators that most institutions fall under, that if you want to file a complaint against, especially if you've talked to the manager and they're not trying to have the time of day, you have those options on seeking counsel, or not so much counsel, but seeking information in regards to, you didn't like how that session you had with the loan officer, it didn't turn out in that manner, or they said something to you that didn't settle too well with the loan decision. And some of your institutions do have a review committee that kind of helps bridge the gap, so they can actually, if you can go up there and you want to plead to them and kind of plead your case to them, they can listen to it as well. But I think that's about all I have right now, Evangelist. So if you want to come back on, sir. But thank you again for the opportunity to come and speak to you all today. I hope everybody, I hope I didn't go too fast, but Evangelist Keys, if you're ready.
All right. I'm back.
All right.
There we go. All right, thank you, Brother Chris. What a awesome and informative session. We'll entertain 2 or 3 questions. If anybody has any questions at this time for him, we will entertain those questions.